You guys know her as Allie Feller, host of the Allie on the Run show podcast. She does race announcing and broadcasting for all the big ones, the New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, and so much more. I, however, know her as my post-college bestie, just two girls trying to make it in New York City in the magazine world. So welcome, Allie. I call you Allison. We'll go with Allie, though. So thank you for being on.
It just made me emotional. Like, I felt like I was gonna cry for a little bit. I hope everyone knows how amazing you are. Let's talk about that
Oh,
the whole time.
well, maybe another time. This is all about you today. But thank you for being on. Start at what I'm considering the beginning. Tell us about your college. What was your degree? What did you want to do when you grew up?
Oh man. Well, I always knew I wanted to be a magazine editor in New York City. I think probably so similar to you, grew up as a little dancer girl, obsessed with Dance Spirit magazine. And by the time I was 16, I was like, that's the goal. I'm going to move to New York City and I'm going to work for Dance Spirit. And because I am very driven and, if nothing else, competitive, I was set on making that happen. I went to college at Quinnipiac University in Connecticut. My major was print journalism. If I had to guess,
So
it
old.
doesn't still exist. But I majored in print journalism with a focus on magazine journalism. I never wanted to cover news. I always wanted to be like, I joked, I was like, I want to write the fun, fluffy pieces. And I think it's easy to dismiss those as fluffy pieces, but really what I love is human interest stories. I love writing about people. I love getting to know people. I was always a big journaler, diary writer. I'm never not writing something. And so went to college, majored in print journalism with a minor in Spanish because my mom was convinced that that would pay off someday, which it doesn't unless I've had like two
Okay.
margaritas and then I think I'm fluent. I'm not, but I try. So I loved my journalism classes. They were really fun. And then to graduate, you needed an internship. And so the summer before my senior year, and again, this will so date me. So I just turned 40. I graduated college in 2007. And at the time, obviously the internet wasn't what it is now. This was before Instagram, before Twitter, was before any of it. And so you couldn't just find someone's contact information. And so I had obviously every issue of Dance Spirit. And on the masthead, I used to memorize mastheads of all my favorite magazines. They only had contact information for the people in sales. Makes sense. And so I emailed someone from sales and was like, my name is Allison Feller. Attached is my resume. My resume was like captain of the dance team. And I just emailed the person I could find. I said I was looking for an internship. And out of the goodness of her heart, like I need to remember, I have her name somewhere. She forwarded it to the right people. And I feel like we're all so busy, and it would have been so easy to just disregard that email and be like, this doesn't apply to me. But she forwarded it to the editorial team. They interviewed me over the phone. Kristen Lewis interviewed me over the phone, and I got hired as an editorial intern. And so that summer, 3 days a week, I commuted from Hamden, Connecticut to New York City. It was 3 hours door to door.
Oh,
By the time I left my house, drove to the train station, took the train to Grand Central, took the 4-5 downtown to Fulton Street, and then walked to our office. It was 3 hours. I wasn't getting paid. I was actively losing money on that internship
yes.
with train and
Yes.
parking and all that. I loved it. I was obsessed. I wanted to go to every meeting. Like it,
Mhm.
I I I thought I was in Gossip Girl. I thought I was Andy Anderson, How To Girl from How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. All of my journalism idols, like I
Mhm.
thought I was it in my little outfits. And so I did the internship and then I went back to finish my senior year and I stayed in touch with the editors. And from time to time, they would assign me a little freelance piece. I remember I got paid $50 for
Mm.
freelance.
Big bucks.
So that was, I mean, but in college, that was like six
Yeah.
cocktails at Side Street Grill. So it was great. And then I just stayed in touch. And once I graduated in May 2007, I was like, I'm available for hire. Thinking that they would be like, great, we've been holding this position for you. Not a thing.
Mhm.
And So I interviewed for a couple different roles at the company. It was owned by, at the time, what was it? McFadden Performing Arts
Mhm.
Media, MPAM,
That's right.
and
You got
eventually
it.
Dance Media. So I interviewed at Point, Dance Teacher, Dance Magazine. I just wanted to work there.
Yeah.
By September of 2007, I got a call or an email that they had created a new position called a web editor. And so that's actually
Mhm.
what I got hired to do, which was updating all of the websites for all of the magazines. And then I was just really scrappy once I got in there, just kind of weaseling my way into every meeting, into every department. I was just really excited, really eager. Um, it was the dream. It was like, I think you might agree that for the
Oh,
like right out of college, I was making $31,500 a year, bare minimum benefits. I believe we got 10 vacation days. And I remember
mm.
being like, wow, like, how will I spend that time? How amazing. Guarantee I took none of them. But it was awesome. And so I kept doing the commute for a couple months. And then eventually in December of 2007, moved to New York City with some women that I found on Craigslist and proceeded to mostly live the dream,
Yes. Oh my goodness. Like so much is like flooding back to me right
right?
now. It's
The early days.
very, yes. Oh my
When
gosh.
did you start?
I started it, my internship was before I even technically graduated that summer. So I moved out in June of '07 to start my internship. And then they hired me 3 weeks later for that fact checking
That's right.
role.
You were
Yeah.
the fact checker. I was trying to remember what your first
Mhm.
job was because to me you were always the managing editor, but I know that's oh my gosh, you
So,
were an iconic fact checker. Nothing got past you.
oh, well, thank you. I did highlight quite well.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I can still picture your handwriting, which makes me so
Mm.
happy.
Oh,
All
I
over my stuff. Sorry.
no, but I love how we both started as interns, took like what, what was available, but and really made it ours. That journey was ours, and that's so amazing. In fact, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I actually wrote about this experience. I don't know if you'll remember it in one of my blogs because it literally taught me so much about my own career. I still think about it. But it was like my 6 month, I don't know exactly what it was for you, but we were doing like our 6 month check-ins with Karen and mine was with Hannah. And they're like, well, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I'm thinking 5 years. And I'm like calculating it. And I'm like, I want to be managing editor. That seems very appropriate for 5 years. It's 2 steps up. I think this is super doable. And you go in there. Do you remember what you said?
I'm shocked I even had a review. No.
You you said, Karen, I want your job.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and Karen for everybody else was like the top, like over
Editorial
editor in
director.
chief. Yes, she
Yeah.
was over all of the magazines, the top editorial job. And you're like, I want your job. And I was like shocked. I'm like the audacity, man. Like
Yeah.
but
I didn't have a lot of humility. I mean, it paid off, but
yes, but it taught me so
mm,
much because I was like very like realistic, calculated, and I got what I wanted, right? I got to that managing editor a lot faster than 5 years. But talk us through what the rest of your career journey at Dance Spirit looked like.
yeah, I mean, I think back a lot and I have a lot of thoughts on that time and so much of it like I'll give myself credit for working really hard. I did. Like we all did.
Yeah.
Because we loved it so much.
Yes. So much.
I was like we were all constantly pitching stories, taking any assignment we could get from any of the magazines. We were at shows and events every night. To
Mm-hmm.
have that stamina now. I go out once a month and I'm like fried.
Yeah.
So I did. I mean, I moved to New York City wanting to be the editor in chief, and then I think once I saw what Karen did, I actually thought that was even better. I liked that she
Mm-hmm.
oversaw the editorial for all of the magazines. And for some reason, I weaseled my way into the sales department. I was like friends with all of those women. And I would
Mm-hmm.
go to the sales meetings, and I never wanted anything to do with it. But I did think it was cool the way that they looked at each other's departments, that sales looked at editorial and then would go to their clients and say, hey, they're writing about this month. You might want to be in this issue, and vice versa. And at the time, I was like, wow, fascinating work happening here in this conference room. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I think I have always been, I don't love the phrase ballsy because we can do better than that, but I think I was just scrappy and eager and excited and not afraid to put my big dreams out there.
Yeah.
It was also timing, right? So the editor in chief of Dance Spirit at the time was Kate Lyden, like a literal professional ballerina. I come in
Yes.
there being like, okay, I went to Concord Dance Academy. I don't know if you know this, but Sing Sing Sing, our top number, got third overall at American Dance Awards Nationals. Um, it's on my resume. You'll see it there. And I brought my ribbon. Whereas Kate is like, speaks French. Um, so at the time, I learned from putting it out there and telling Karen, hey, this is what I want to do. And I was fortunate that she saw something in me.
Mhm.
Whether it was like, hey, if I say no to this woman, she's going to keep banging down my door, or maybe she saw potential. I don't know, but
Both.
um,
Both.
I put it out there, and that kind of kick-started what I was eventually told, we're grooming you to be editor in chief. I
Mhm.
thought that would be a 10-year process. I thought it would be
Mhm.
because we were 25 at the time.
Right.
I was not ready to be an editor in chief, but Kate was leaving and
Mhm.
I wasn't super involved in the process, but I guess instead of looking at outside hires, it was, hey, we have this woman here who wants the job. I mean, I knew that magazine. Like we
Yeah.
all did, front to back. We knew everything Dance Spirit. That was our primary language that we spoke. And so they started grooming me for the job, and there are a million things I would do differently, but I was eventually, do you remember when I was deputy editor in chief?
I do.
And
I
I was
do
like, do I
remember
get a badge? I'm a deputy. They gave me an
that.
office, which at the old office, it was like a
Mhm.
nice office with a
Mhm.
door. And
Mhm.
and I do remember being so excited for all of these opportunities, but I remember feeling weird of like, I'm 25. I am
Mhm.
not, I can lead my dance team. I can lead my National Honor Society meetings. I can plan a prom, but like this is real life. And I think I was a little cocky for better or worse. I think that paid off in a lot of ways, but I
Yeah.
also, I made a lot of mistakes and I wasn't super great at getting feedback. I'm still not. And so yeah, they saw something, and eventually, the transition started happening where Kate was in only 4 days a week, and then 3 days a
Mhm.
week, and then it was just, "Hey, if you have questions, email me," and then I don't even remember, but I know that 1 month it was time to write the editor's letter, and it was gonna be, from Allison Feller, and it was hard. I mean, it was great in a lot of ways, but it's also I think we were all, I don't know if competitive is the right word, and you tell me,
Mhm.
but, like, I mean, I remember feeling weird with you at times of being like, "We're right here with each other, like, why am I the
Mhm.
one getting this job?" And there were other people on staff that I knew didn't love that I was getting that promotion, uh,
Mhm.
and it was hard when people left. So there were a lot of, like, very real world things that I was not ready for. I think
Yeah.
I was ready to plan photo shoots. I was ready to work with these dancers. I was ready to tell their stories. I was ready to present the magazine at those same sales meetings that I
Mhm.
used to go to. I loved going to those meetings and getting to present our lineup. Like, I felt so proud,
Yeah, you should.
and it was the best. I mean, with the added responsibility, every
Mhm.
single day there, we had so much fun. Like, my favorite part of the day was when I would see you in the morning and we would see each other's outfits. I mean,
Which some of those I'm so embarrassed to think about now.
what I wouldn't give to have daily snapshots of all of our outfits when you would wear, my favorite outfit. It was the little gray outfit, but we would wear it with pink tights and your gray.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
You were Blair
What
Waldorf.
was I thinking?
You were iconic. If you put a headband on with it, I remember on my birthday, you would let me pick what you would wear on my birthday, and I would always pick my
Yes. Oh my
favorite
god, I
outfit.
didn't think about that, but yes, I
Oh,
remember.
that's like one of my main Brienne memories. Is on my birthday, I got to pick my favorite of your outfits because you had an iconic closet.
Oh my god, that's so funny. There's just so many, like, I had, like, a weird, like, half sweatshirt
Yep.
thing that I would wear, and, like, what was I
Stop. You
thinking?
looked amazing. And then we would always walk to Starbucks and you would get your tall soy cinnamon dolce latte and I would get chocolate for breakfast.
Yes, because you don't, well, didn't, I don't know if you do now,
No,
drink coffee, and I'm
no.
just like, I don't know how you survive, but yeah, get your chocolate, man.
Bacon, egg, and cheeses, man. That was all I needed. So, I mean, it was amazing. Dance Spirit, like, I will forever say that that was the best out of college job, and it had its faults. The company was not always great to work for. Obviously, ultimately, I ended up leaving for all kinds of reasons, but as a first out of college job
Mhm.
where I met my best friend, it was awesome. We got to hang out every single day and
I know.
brainstorm and be creative and then go to events together. Remember going to
Yeah.
Wicked? Remember when I got the call? It was like we could get any Broadway ticket we wanted, but
We
Wicked was
went.
strict. Wicked was like,
Yes.
we will give you one ticket. And I was like, I was the one to get to write about Wicked that year. And then we
Hmm.
got dinner. I went to the box office to get my ticket, and there were two. And I immediately called you and was like, come back. I have two tickets. And you came in your sweatpants.
I was just gonna say I wore sweatpants to see Wicked.
That's what I
Don't care. I was there.
We were in the room where it happened. But that's what I
It's
think of. I mean, when I saw Wicked in the movie theaters with my daughter,
yeah.
I was like, Brienne in her cute little sweatpants.
Oh my gosh,
People
I
have
love it
worn
so
far
much.
worse to Broadway shows, and you looked cute in them, but I remember you coming back in your sweats, and we were like, "Who cares?"
I wasn't gonna say no. I wasn't gonna say
Yeah.
no. Yeah. No, that's
We
amazing.
got to see all the things.
Yes. So, I mean, I love it that we got literally to live our dreams. Like, since we were little girls, since college, like, that was what we wanted, and we went and we did it. I think the things that you covered, putting yourself out there, saying the big words, saying the big thing that you want, putting yourself in the room. Like, I didn't know that you went to all the sales meetings. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I would absolutely give that same exact advice now, and you were just doing it. That's so good.
And I will say, going to the sales meetings wasn't because I was like, "I'm gonna get Karen's job, watch me." I thought it was so cool. Like,
Yeah,
when
like just
people would be
learning.
like, "This meeting, ugh, I have a meeting." I'm like, "You get to have a meeting." I was also a very social extrovert person, but I thought it was so fun. I was like, "You get to talk about what you're working on and your ideas, and you get to, like."
Mhm.
It was, and I do think that's a big reason that Karen saw was I was
Mhm.
really committed. I
Yeah,
wasn't like, "This is my first job, and then I'm jumping ship for something
yeah,
bigger." I was like, "This is where I wanna be." And so I think she
yeah.
sensed or she knew. I mean, it wasn't a secret that I
Right.
was very loyal to Dance Spirit.
Yeah. So if you could boil it down to one piece of advice for getting your dream job out of college, what do you think it would be?
Ask ask for it.
Yes. Good.
Um, no one's gonna call you out of the blue. No one's gonna be like, "You know what? I was searching LinkedIn and came across a total stranger." I'm sure that has
Right.
happened before, but, uh, when I was growing up, I was often hearing people say things like, "It's not what you know, it's who you know," with a negative
Mhm.
connotation. And I
Right.
understand
Right.
that because in a perfect world, we all have equal opportunities and the best person is gonna get the job. That being said, networking is part of it. Putting yourself out
Yeah.
there is part of it.
Yes.
Opportunities very rarely just fall in your lap. You have to advocate for yourself. It's
Yes.
not braggy, it's not showy,
Mhm.
it's not too much. If you want something, go get it.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I think there's this idea that I talk about of doing the work first. So, like you were doing all of these things. You were tying together editorial and sales. You were putting yourself in these rooms. You were doing the work. And so when it came time for them to look and see who's going to replace our editor in chief, Allison's already doing the
Right.
work. And I think that's so important. It's something that I've tried to employ later in my life as well. So, huge piece of advice for anybody listening.
And work
Do
with your
that.
best friend.
Yes, if you can.
Yeah.
It's life changing.
Yeah.
Life
Befriend the fact
changing.
checker. For so many reasons, befriend the fact checker.
Well, something you kind of alluded to that I just want to touch on because I think a lot of people are super ambitious, or at least people like us are super ambitious. They want to be in these leadership positions, but you said that was kind of like the hardest part of your job, or at least that's what I'm kind of reading between the lines. Tell me just a little bit about that.
It was hard at first, and it was hard because suddenly I was in a position where I was leading you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting
Mm-hmm.
there and I'm like, Brienne is smarter than me. Brienne is better at me than or better than me at most of the stuff that I'm doing. And so I think that part of it was hard. Also, like, our creative director, our art director, she had already been at the
Mm-hmm.
company for 10 years. She was, like, 15 years older than me.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I was also, like, I'm not stupid. I was very aware of what it looked like to suddenly have a 26-year-old editor-in-chief trying to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
And of course, now that I'm older, I try to look and I'm like, "Yeah, how would I react to that?"
Yeah.
So I think I did come from a place where I respected seniority,
Mm-hmm.
but I also was getting the message from the people above me saying, "Well, you're the boss now. You're in charge.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the hard conversations. There's no one else that can say to you like, 'Hey, you gotta stop coming in at 11 AM. It's kind of messing up the flow here.' Or like, 'Hey, this was due yesterday. We need it.'" So I think that I'm a good natural leader when it comes to setting the right tone for things, when it comes to, just having the natural enthusiasm and being able to lead with a vision. I knew I had all that, uh, but I am also someone who cares a lot about being liked, and even more so in my mid-20s.
Sure.
That was hard too.
Natural.
Uh, I think if they had said, "Hey, go run this magazine. Here's your brand new team," it might have been okay. We're building this from the ground up, and I would have figured that out. Uh, Obviously, that wasn't the case, and thank goodness it wasn't. That I had an amazing team of seasoned, very smart people. So I think it was probably part insecurity of like, I'm not better at these things than you, but also I am the editor in chief now. My name is
Mhm.
at the top of the masthead, and
Right.
I have to make decisions that I think are right.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I didn't love that part of it. I loved leading eventually. So within maybe like 2 years, um, I mean, it was a small staff with like 5 people. So when I'm like half the staff had turned over, it means like 2 people left. Um, and then when we were bringing in people who were either newer than I was, younger than I was, then it felt very easy for me to lead.
More
Um,
natural.
but I think it was more of I was like, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell Lauren. I'm definitely not telling Lauren Levinson what to do. Um, so so yeah, I think that was hard for me. And we were all the same age,
Mhm.
so it's like all of the feelings that any of us had, I think were valid. Uh, I would have resented me. I would like, I don't know. I don't know how much I even remember, but I do remember feeling like, why can't we all do this? Like,
Mhm.
why is it what
Yeah.
why can't we all just be co-editors together?
Yeah. Oh.
Because I wanted people to like me. I
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
lead in a way that people respected
Yeah.
me, um, and liked me and were on
Mhm.
board. And in any work environment, that's never gonna be the case for everyone.
Right.
Uh, so that's also where I think that my immaturity at the time, uh, was kind of prominent.
Mm.
I just had a lot of
You
learning
know,
to do. I had a lot of growing up to do. I was too young to have that job.
well, I think that you did a good job, first of all. Let's say that you were qualified and you did a good job. I will be super honest and say there was a little point of jealousy for me when I found that out, and I was complaining to my boyfriend at the time, not complaining, but like, this is something I like. My thought was I'm going to be managing editor and then editor in chief. That was mine, and so I'm like saying this to him, and he said, "You, the only thing you should be thinking now is congratulate her, buy her pizza, buy her drink." And I was like, "You're absolutely right. Yes, that's what." And so like just that little tweak
Yeah.
in that conversation changed everything. And from that on, I was just like, love it for her. This is great. I'm doing what I said I wanted to do. We're here together. So I think it can be hard from either side, but like once you just tweak it and you own it and you take the good that your life is giving you in that moment, I think it changes everything.
Yeah, and there's always gonna be that. That's, I think, one of the best things ever about getting to work with your friends and people that you love
Mhm.
is you get to do all these things together. You get to celebrate each other's successes, but also there are
Yeah.
going to be points where
Yeah.
someone's career is taking a different direction than yours, or yours, like that to me is all very human, but I don't think I
Mhm.
was well equipped to handle it at the time.
Yeah. Nope. So if you were talking to your younger self or somebody in that position, what advice would you give them about maybe
Hmm.
leading or finding yourself in a role that you're maybe not quite ready for?
I would say, and this isn't always great advice because it's not just something you can go do, but like it
Mhm.
helps to have whether it's a mentor or just a
Mhm.
trusted, more
Yep.
experienced, more seasoned. I don't love bringing age into it because I don't know that age is necessarily relevant, but at the time, I did need someone who was at least more experienced than I was in
Mhm.
all of the areas. Um,
Yeah.
I actually think we had a great grasp on editorial. We had a great grasp on how to like write a good story. Were
Mhm.
we the New York Times? For sure not. Did we do fine by our teenage audience? I would say 80%. Yeah, we did. Where I needed guidance and for better or worse, once I had this job, there were some areas in which I was still very maybe micromanaged a little bit. Uh then there were areas where I remember going to Karen and being like, "Hey, I have an issue." And she looked at me and she goes, bring me solutions, not problems." And I was like, "Right, I need help getting to the solution." And she was like, "Figure it out and come back." I
Oh
was
wow.
like,
Okay.
oh gosh, I remember walking out of the office, calling my dad, crying, walking down
Oh.
7th Avenue, being so mad. Like, how dare she? How dare she tell me to bring her and then I'm like, okay, she's overseeing 7 magazines. She's managing a
Mhm.
staff of how many? She gave me this so it's kind of both, right? Of like,
Yeah.
yes, bring solutions, not problems. And it helps to have somewhere to go that you can be really honest. I don't think I was ever honest about the challenges that
Mhm.
I was experiencing because I didn't want to admit that I was having those challenges. I didn't want to admit that I was afraid of my staff not liking me.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't want to admit that I was afraid that actually, like, I disagree with Margaret's edit. But
Yes.
Margaret's a little more intense than me, so I'm just going to go with it. But I actually don't think that's the right call. Like, I didn't know how to manage
Mhm.
yeah, I guess not that it was workplace drama, it wasn't, but the interpersonal relationships because I cared
Yeah.
so much about my friendships in the office. And I was not hired to be an editor in chief to make friends, but all I want in
Mm.
life is to make friends.
Yeah.
I don't know what the question was. I'm sure I didn't answer it, but
That's it was
maybe
perfect.
it's just accepting that the higher you climb in your career, whatever that looks like, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to agree with every decision you make. And it's really important to have conviction to make those big decisions and make those calls, but also enough humility to accept
Yeah.
feedback and enough open-mindedness to say, is there a chance there is a better solution, workaround, whatever it might be? So I think you have to be able to do all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to hear that that was Karen's response to you and how you reacted to that because now in my day job I have a lot of people who I oversee and that is something that I want. I don't like when people just complain, especially if you are in a leadership role. I do expect them to come with some sort of solution, but the idea is more so like bring a solution, right? Don't
Right.
just complain the whole time. And I'm not saying at all that's what you were doing, but just
Compliments.
as an advice, as like an advice for anybody listening to this, is like come with a solution to have a starting point to discuss with that mentor. I think that's kind of what people are looking for. So I totally appreciate that. Like I'm coming to you hoping to get a solution, and then it's just kind of like what the leader is looking for versus what that person is looking for. It's finding that middle part is very difficult,
Yeah.
but it's interesting to hear that perspective.
And it was hard
So
for me because I think the person I needed was Kate. Kate, editor in
yes,
chief, who was leaving. Kate was warm and wonderful. And like, Kate was kind of a hug where like
yes,
Karen and Hannah were scary to me. But Kate was transitioning out. Kate wasn't
yeah,
someone like the
yeah,
whole point of grooming me was so I didn't have to go to Kate all the time. And I think
right.
I needed more time with that setup.
Hmm.
It wasn't super well
Yeah.
designed, the transition. I also had an ego. Like, I was 25 and I was just like, "I don't need any help. I got this."
Yeah.
And then I would call my
Yeah.
dad crying every day because I didn't know what
Oh.
decisions to make. So, yeah, I 25-year-old Allison Feller needed a little bit of humility.
Yeah. Well, don't we all?
Yeah.
Apparently, I did with my outfits. So there you
Stop, your
go.
outfits were iconic. I like, you to me, you okay, what was the store in Soho that you would go to and buy dresses?
Oh
You
my god.
introduced me to
Oh, I
Nicole
did love
Miller?
that store. I loved that
If I
store.
heard the name, I would know it, but I mean, we used to go to Soho on the weekends to shop, but we would go to Broadway on Soho and go to, like, Banana Republic.
Ridiculous because we were making like $30,000 when we had no money to
No
spend.
money. We went
Zero.
Yeah, we went hard at H&M and the
Mm,
like, but yeah, there was
yeah,
some, like, little boutique-y store in
I
Soho,
did.
and
I wanted all the Nicole Miller
all
dresses.
I still have Nicole Miller dresses. I can't get rid of them. I still have the dress that
I
I wore to my Dance Spirit interview.
oh,
It's
love that.
hideous. It was from Arden B.
Oh, well, that was very cool back
Really
in
chic.
the
That and BB. I mean,
yeah. Oh, I think BB closed.
for sure. Yes. We looked cute.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's switch gears because you have built an iconic brand your own self. So I'm sure many people who would see this know who you are already, but tell us a little bit about that journey, how you built your own podcast, your own show, your own brand.
Well, yeah, I think once you left Dance Spirit, I was like, I guess I need to find a hobby. So,
Yeah, because you didn't run when I knew you back
no,
then.
because I was too busy having fun and, like, going to your super cool apartment, and yeah, and then you left, so I started running. What a punishment. So one of my roommates, I didn't run growing up. Dancers, we were
Yeah,
told not to run. Perfect
right.
excuse. And then I moved to New York City. I'm making no money. And
Mm-mm.
my roommate, one of them at the time, Conroy, she had all these medals on her walls. And as a lover of shiny things, I thought, what do I have to do to get one of those necklaces? And
We do like our trophies and
yeah.
yeah.
So she explained to me the concept of a half marathon and of running for fun. And so one day I went out and I didn't even own running shoes. I wore my jazz sneakers from dance. And I,
Oh my god.
oh yeah, yeah. Only once, only once. I wore my jazz sneakers, my Capezio, black Capezio jazz sneakers along the FDR Drive on the East River Promenade.
Okay.
And I
Yes.
ran for like a second and I was
Okay.
winded, out of breath, and was like, oh my God, I went for a run today. Couldn't have been 60 seconds. But
Well,
suddenly there I
gotta start.
was, this new lease on life, started
Yeah.
running, and my goal was, first it was to run a lamp post, 4 lamp posts,
Mhm.
and then the East River Dog Park was exactly a mile from my apartment on 102nd and First Avenue. So it was, can I run to the dog park? Can I run there and back? So all of a sudden I'm this little runner girl. And at the time, this was in 2009, that was a big time for running and healthy living blogs. Everyone had a blog,
Mm.
usually some combination of nouns, cupcakes and cashmere, running shoes and ice cream, 16 handles and toppings. Like, that was just the time. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start a running blog. I was reading all of them, I was commenting on them. I was part of all these little online communities. And then as I was training for, I don't know, I had started running half marathons and I started a blog, called it Alley on the Run because I couldn't think of anything super creative. And every day on the notes app on my phone on the way to our office downtown, I would write about my run that day. And it was always very dramatic, as if something had actually happened on that run. Usually it didn't, but I would write it on my news app. I would get to the office, I would upload it, and I was getting to work at 7:30 in the morning because remember we had to sign in.
Holy.
Remember signing in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was determined to be the first person on the sign-in sheet every morning.
Wow.
So I would get there really early. I would upload my blog posts and then I would switch into dance spirit mode for the rest of the day.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that became a thing that I was into. Started blogging and it developed an audience as I trained for my first marathon and wrote about it a lot. And so I had this really awesome community. The blog would get like hundreds of comments every post. Because again, it was a good time to have a running
Yeah.
blog. It was never, I never monetized it. I lost money off of it because, I was in such a position to be losing money on my hobbies.
Yes. Yes.
And I got to a point where I was such a runner. It was my whole identity.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
used to spend every night going to Broadway shows, going to the ballet, going to Ailey, whatever we could do. And now I was like, I'd rather go to bed early so I can get up and run, or I'd rather go to this group run that meets
Yeah.
at the same time as Curtain for In the Heights. Which will I choose? And so I started feeling this really big shift where running was the thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm pretty sure I drove everyone crazy at the office, constantly talking about like my races and my little hobby that I love. And so by 2011 I ran my first marathon. By 2013, I'd gotten to a point where I was very, very sick, and I was like, couldn't run. I have Crohn's disease and it was flaring really badly. I was so stressed every day. Like, I was so stressed about working at Dance Spirit. And I remember Hannah Rubin was planning a photo shoot, had this great idea. Beyonce was on tour at the time. And the plan was, let's do a photo shoot with all of her dancers. She had
Mhm.
8 women and 2 men on tour with her. We knew they were going to be in New York. And I was like, we're making this happen, which again, I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, girl, like, good for you.
Yeah.
Planning the photo shoot was a disaster. It was so stressful
Aw.
because I'm a 26-year-old editor of Dance Spirit dealing with real grown-up humans who are touring with Beyonce.
You're right.
Um, and I remember being in there super early. It was just me and Hannah Rubin in the office and probably Jean. This was the office on 7th Avenue. So this was like once we had moved, and they called the day before. And I got a voicemail on my office phone saying, we can't do the photo shoot anymore.
Oh,
And of course,
no.
we're already like down to the wire. We're doing this shoot like the day before we have to ship the issue.
Oh
I
my gosh.
took my phone, I unplugged the top, and I threw it. Like,
Oh my
threw it into
gosh.
Emily Giacleone's, like, wall at her cubicle, which was next to mine, and and I'm just crying. I'm
Oh
just like,
my
"What am
gosh.
I gonna do?" And Hannah comes over, and she just looks at me, and she goes, "Allison, it's just Dance Spirit." And I was so mad. Like,
Oh, no.
how dare you? It's
How
just
yes, this
this
is
is
my
the
whole life.
preeminent magazine for teen recreational and competitive dancers in the United States. Just Dance Spirit? Babe, like, the world just ended.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. So anyway, the shoot ended up happening. Shoot was fine. Dancers were great. Um, I left that photo shoot. Our art director had just had dental surgery, and in the middle of it, her gums are like bleeding. She had to leave. It was
Oh my
insane.
god.
Insane. I was also writing the cover story, so I'm trying to like do
Yes.
interviews. It was too
Yeah.
much for me to handle at that time.
Right.
I remember walking out of the photo shoot at the end. We shot it at the Alvin Ailey Studios on 9th Avenue. I walk out, I
Mhm.
threw up everywhere. Just like
Oh my
it was like
gosh.
this stress had been building.
Get built up.
By that night, I was in the hospital.
Oh,
So something had to change.
yeah,
I ended
clearly.
up having to go on medical leave from work for a while. That was super hard for me because it was like I worked my butt off to get this dream
Yeah,
job, and now I can't even do it. The one thing I
right.
worked for is now taken away from me. And then the other thing I love, running, I also can't do. So I was
Mhm.
deeply depressed. I was in a really bad place. And I finally I had been dealing with some things at work that I wasn't loving. I was having a hard
Mhm.
time with management. I was feeling like all the fun parts of the job that I wanted, they weren't letting me do. And I kind of just felt like I had to be the bad guy all the time. Like I had to be the one to say, "Hey, you're not doing this to your potential." And half the time I didn't even agree with the feedback they wanted me to give. But then when my
Yeah.
staff was getting raises, I didn't get to be the one to tell them. And that set me
Oh,
off. I found
yeah.
out that 2 members of my staff were given raises and that I didn't get to be the one to tell them the good news. I was like, "You know what? I'm out." Which again, there were mounting things, but that to me was just like, "You know what? I this just isn't working." So I was back at work for a while, and then I got an opportunity from a local running store where they were like, "Hey, we will hire you to be our like social media person."
Mhm.
Which I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but sure. and the pay was more than I was making. The pay at a running store to do social media was more than I was making as an editor-in-chief. And
So
I'll
they
put
did
numbers
not
on
pay
it.
it.
So as an editor-in-chief, I believe I was making $50,000, but then I was given a bonus of $5,000. The bonus was doing the competition yearbook. Remember the yearbook?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So it was a bonus, but it was a ton of work. It wasn't
Yes.
actually a
Yeah.
bonus, and you were taxed on it. So then this running store comes in and is like, "We'll give you 65." And I remember,
Which still is not enough for New
no,
York.
I was
That's
rich.
so crazy.
I was rich. 65? I was living on the Upper East Side. Like, I was like,
Oh my
"Wow, wow, this is amazing. But can you match the 10 vacation days a year?" And they were like, "We'll give you 12."
god.
And
Our baseline was so
so
low. Oh
low.
my god. Oh my
But
god.
again, I think I just had the mindset of like, I'm just happy to be in the room. I had that
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
long time, and so
Yes,
I made the
yes.
decision to
Agreed.
leave
And
the
that's so good
industry.
for your 20s, by the way.
Yeah,
Just be in the room.
yeah, exactly, and it was a fun room, it was a well-dressed
Mhm.
room. So I left, and that was hard, as much as I was ready because I was unhappy in a lot of ways, and I just needed to get healthy. I was like, "I'm carrying so much stress editing a teen magazine." Like, this was my dream, and that's on me. Like, that, yes, there were some company
Right.
things going on, but I wasn't equipped to handle it at the time. I had a lot of growing
Mhm.
up to do. So I went to the running store. I worked there for about 8 months, and all the while I'm still writing my blog, and I'm getting opportunities to do freelance pieces. And I got an email from Self magazine, which was then the dream. Like, Self
Oh my
was
gosh.
it.
Yeah. Yes.
And they offered a freelance piece for the website, and I was like, yes. And I quit my job at Jackrabbit.
Oh my god. For a freelance piece.
I saw the potential.
Okay, go, go.
And I was like, you know what? I think I can make freelancing work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I mean, so I did. I wasn't happy
Mhm.
at the running store. Like, I
Yeah.
was not
That's
happy.
not your
And
thing. Yeah.
so, and I knew that was going to be a transition job. It was, what am I going
Mhm.
to do while I figure out the next thing?
Yeah.
This is where I will say I have never wanted to work from home. I've never wanted to work for myself. I have never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was well suited for a job like Dance Spirit, where I went and
Yes.
I signed in and I sat at my desk and I barely took a lunch break. Like,
Yeah.
I was a good little keyboard warrior. So all of a sudden now I'm freelancing, working for myself. Uh, but I did it. I didn't do
Yeah.
it well for the first year. I maybe made 30 grand. So I was like right back to where I was. Worth pointing out that I was also engaged at the time. So I wasn't
Mhm.
flying solo.
Right.
I had someone who supported what I was doing and was willing to cover costs. I couldn't at the time,
Sure.
which was also hard for me because I have an ego.
Yeah.
I was freelancing. I was freelancing for Self, Shape, Well and Good, Women's Health, all the publications that I was
Big name.
obsessed with at the time. And I was back on the run. Running was going well. Eventually, I get married. We get a dog. We say we have to give our dog a better life. We move to New Jersey. We moved to New Jersey to Weehawken, right across the river. And I was like, all my friends are gone. Central Park is gone. My running group is gone. What will I do? Started a podcast. So that's when I launched the Alley on the Run show, where it was just like the blog. It was going to be my fun little side hobby. And I was going to interview my friends. Like, I didn't follow the sport of professional running. It was just going to be a reason for me to talk to my running buddies across the
Yeah.
river.
Yep.
And I put out one episode a week at first, and then 2 episodes a week. And about a year in, I got my first sponsor, which was Strava, the social networking app for runners. And then after that, the headphone brand, they're now known as Shocks, but at the time they were Aftershocks. They were like, "Yeah, we'd like to sign on for a year of sponsorship." And I was like, and it wasn't a ton of money, but it was a commitment. And it was like,
Sure.
okay, we're doing
Believed in
this.
you.
And so eventually, just like the shift with dance and running started to shift, I was then like, okay, I could record a podcast or I could write this freelance piece for $50. Could
Mhm.
record a podcast or I could write a Dance Spirit cover story for $400. So this
Right.
shift started happening both in terms of my passion and also uh, the potential. I started doing live
Mhm.
shows. Eventually, I started announcing at races and that bill. So it's just been a big snowball within the running industry now of kind of seeing what more I can do. And my whole career has been chasing what I love and what's fun, which is crazy because I am historically not like the most fun chasing person I know. I'm like pretty regimented and pretty by the book. But it's cool to look back and see like, oh no, I'm doing all the things I've always loved doing. So find a way to
Yeah.
monetize your hobbies.
I mean, that's something you've always gone for what you wanted. We talked about it, you doing that at Dance Spirit, and then you did it with your podcast. It's like you wanted it, you went for it, and it is funny because your personality is not like necessarily like super risk taking or taking big huge leaps or like that's not how you necessarily talk or present yourself, but you do it, and that's so awesome because you've built this amazing life for yourself. And I hope you don't mind me saying it, but I feel like your podcast and this brand is not always just about running. It's you being so authentically you. And in the beginning, you talked about having Crohn's quite a bit. And it was, I think, to me at least, I will speak for myself. I was, you were putting yourself out there in a way that I hadn't really seen many other people do. It was you were talking about something that was, to a lot of people, they try to keep that private. I know other people with Crohn's, and it's something that is private to them. They wouldn't talk about it in public. It's not something that they are willing to put out there into the ether. And you were. And that was amazing. And I know you have continued to do that throughout. And I think it just helps people just so connect with you on so many levels, this running hobby, but also this whole life side that's happening. And it's like, I respect that so much. And what goes through your head when you're like, I'm going to talk about this,
Nothing.
is it just so natural, or is it like, I'm going to make this conscious
No,
decision?
no, it's not. People have asked, they're like, when did you decide to start talking about Crohn's? I'm like, when I was in the hospital? Like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, like I would love to go back. I wonder when we met for the first time. I mean, I can picture where we sat, but I'm like, that's just who I am. Like, I will meet someone for the first time and I'll tell you whatever. Like, I don't have a
Yeah.
filter. Um, Pretty much anything that any of us are experiencing is often a universal experience. I
Yep.
think it's especially when it comes to things like Crohn's disease, cancer,
Yeah.
whatever it is, like these are things people deal with. And so yeah, for me, writing about Crohn's, it was the biggest thing going on in my life. I had a
Yeah.
blog where I wrote about my life. That was part of it. So no, it is never a it's never a, okay, I'm gonna share this. I mean, there are certain things. In 2023, gosh, 2 years ago to the day was my first appointment. It was May 8th that I was like, I have this lump, and I went in and they were like, we have a midwife on call. She'll see you. I was like, is that the right doctor for me for this? And she felt it and she was like, it's nothing. You're young. Come back in 6 months if it's still there. I was like, can I get a mammogram? So yeah, it was May 8th.
Gosh, I just got chills.
That was the only time when I finally shared the actual diagnosis, which was breast cancer. That was the only time that I like planned to share because I had to
Mm.
make sure I told all my family. I
Yeah.
posted
Well, yeah.
publicly. But otherwise, no, it's just all of these things are a part of my life because I've been doing this for a long time. Anything I share is also pretty integrated in my everyday life. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm living and then this part of my life is for content. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just sharing whatever. And I do think that's part of the reason that I have the community that I have is they know that they're not getting like, listen, I don't have it in me to plan. I'm doing my best. I have never had an editorial calendar for my personal content. It's just, it's what's on my mind. I have no filter. Uh, in many ways that pays off. In many ways I have regrets. And that's just, that's kind of how I go through life. You know me in real life. There's not a lot that I don't share.
I know. We talked.
Probably should.
I loved it so much. So we're always like, yeah, I have to go to the bathroom, or like, like we
Oh
gotta get
yeah.
off this train. So it's just like
Immediate
that's my
fun.
type of person. If you can't talk about it, it's like, what are we doing here?
No, no, that's especially now that we're older. If I can't be
Yeah.
my like fullest,
Hmm.
most authentic self around people, you're not my people. Like
Right.
I need to,
Right.
I'm not showing up as anything different than what I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And over the past 2 years, you've showed pictures of you in the hospital, pictures of you getting chemo, your hair wraps, and it's everything. And it's, for someone like me, I'm so thankful because I get to keep up with you even when I'm not actually keeping up with you. And I'm like, oh, I actually know like your whole life, even though we haven't talked, as much as I wish we would have. But like, I think for people who haven't even met you, they just feel this absolute connection to you. And it's important for this day and age to see people being themselves, putting themselves out there. It's not shiny. You're not standing in front of a Ferrari,
I wish.
it's, yeah,
If anyone has one, I'll take.
yeah, send it over.
I'm not
But yeah,
refusing Ferraris here.
but it's real life. And I think it's so important. I love that about you, that you are so authentic. And the best one, when you rang the bell, so yay, cancer free.
Yay.
That's
Yeah, that's a good day.
yes, very, very cool. So running, I feel like is such a powerful metaphor for life. What parallels did you see or do you see now between running and your career growth, your emotional resilience? Tell me just a little bit about the bigger picture.
Yeah, oh, I always joke that you can tie anything about running into life. The
Yeah.
first thing that kind of came up for me when you asked that is going back to the idea of if you want something, you have to be the one to make it happen. If you want a
Mm-hmm.
job, you have to you have to tell the person who has it that you're coming for her job. You have to fix your resume. You can hire someone to do it, but you need to hire that person, or you
Yeah.
can, you need to put in the work. And the same is true about running. You want to run a marathon? Great. No one else is waking up at 4 a.m. for you to do your
Mhm.
training runs. No one
Yes.
else is going to carry you to the finish line. I mean, runners are great. If you cramp in that last 800 meters, they'll pick you up and get you there. But if there's something that you want, whether it is a shiny race medal or a promotion,
Mm-hmm.
be the one. Be the one
Yeah.
to work for it and ask for help along the way. I think being
Yes.
able to ask for help is so powerful. It makes us all better. Uh, and that's true in running and in life too. In running, you can hire a coach. You can have a PT that helps you, that gets your body, where it needs to be. You can
Mm-hmm.
ask someone on a race course to run with you for a little bit. Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of ways to turn these individual pursuits into team activities, which again is how I've gone through life of how can I bring more people along with me? How can I turn this serious thing into an opportunity for friendship? Um, I forced you to be my friend and it worked out great. And then you left, and I was like, I'm only hiring people with best friend potential. So
Which you did. You did a good job with
did a
that.
good
So, and I
job.
know you have lifelong
I
friends. Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
it's worked out well, but I think certainly running life, career, no one. This is a hard truth I've had to learn in the past 2 years. Honestly, no one's going to swoop in and save you.
Mhm.
No one's going to come in and fix all your problems for you. People will help. You have to
Yeah.
ask for the help. Uh,
Yeah.
if you want the thing, you have to put yourself out there. It is a busy world. I truly believe that if I sent an email today to someone in a sales department saying, I'm enthusiastic and I go to Quinnipiac University, that email's not getting where it needs to go.
Yeah.
Everyone's busy. Everyone has their stuff. Um, you have to be your own biggest cheerleader most of the time.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
agree with
fun.
that.
That's an opportunity. See your strengths and hype yourself up. Like we should all be that girl in the bathroom mirror in the morning doing the affirmations. I've never done that, but I should.
Yes, I agree. I agree. That's the whole point here,
Yeah.
right? Is figuring this stuff out for yourself and how you communicate it.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Do you remember when I used to ask to borrow your iPod? iPod.
No?
iPod. I used to ask to borrow your iPod and I would listen to Fergie. Do you remember this? Do you
Wait, why
remember?
didn't you have an iPod? I had
Huh?
something you didn't is shocking to me.
I used to listen to glamorous Fergie on yours at my desk. I would ask. And I would trade you a Dove dark chocolate.
Oh, that tracks. You always had the Dove Dark chocolates, and then I would read the message and I would tack them up on my little bulletin board.
Yes.
Yes, good. So while you were like jamming out, I was just gorging myself on chocolate. Taylor
Well,
tracks.
I also ate them. So
Because
there
we
you
would
go.
go to Jay
But
Reed and we would buy our Dove chocolates. Wait, I don't remember that. Isn't it funny the different little things we remember?
oh my God, that's so funny. But my question now is music still part of your journey? And if so, what songs are pumping you up these
Oh
days?
my gosh, I have a playlist for everything. Yes. Oh yeah, I always have music going. I mean, I'm a big Swiftie, so we go pretty hard for Taylor Swift in this house. I can always find an applicable Taylor song or lyric. My favorite Taylor
Well,
Swift
there's
song is
so
Long
many.
Live. So we listen to a lot of that. I mean, right now it's a lot of whatever Annie wants to listen to, which when your kid has a favorite song, you listen to that on repeat. So really messes up my Spotify Wrapped every year.
Oh, yes.
Um,
I think mine was like Frozen the one year. I was like, yep,
yeah,
yep.
tracks. Yeah, a big song for me over the past 2 years. Well, Taylor Swift, I Can Do It With a Broken Heart was a big one. I just was like going through some stuff and at the
Mm-hmm.
same time I had a job to do. And so I was putting on a happy face and I was getting it done and I did. And eventually you get to the other side. I love Who's Afraid of Little Old Me off the Tortured Poets Department album. That's been another one. I think uh, I've had a lot of career success, which is great, but I also think that because I'm someone who goes through life oftentimes with a smile and having fun, I think I'm underestimated a lot, and I think that that gets taken advantage of a lot.
Yeah.
Um, that happened like 2 days ago. I said something. I was like, I need a vacation so bad. And this person goes, You just had one. You were in London. And I go,
You were
The
working.
48-hour work trip? And so for my whole life, I mean, this was a huge thing at Dance Spirit, which I think we both experienced that when you really love your job and you have a really fun job, people will downplay it and people
Mhm.
will try to like squash that a little bit. And so
Right.
I've done Dance Spirit and now I have a running podcast. I have the funnest jobs in the world. And because of that, people will find a way to belittle that a little bit. I've experienced a lot of that in my career. What was the question? Music? I love music.
Oh, this is why I miss you so
You can
much.
borrow, I don't have an iPod anymore, but I mean, you can borrow anything. You can keep it. I would give you the shirt off my
Oh my
back.
God.
I'd give you anything.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
We would not have survived. I would not have survived. I would not have the career I have now if I didn't have you. And that's true.
Oh, that can't possibly be true.
It would be
I don't believe
different.
that for a second, but yes, it would be different. I think when you move to a new city at that age and you don't know anybody, loneliness can just absolutely take you
Mhm.
down if you don't find your person or people. And so I am so thankful that I had you because you were my person. Like there
Oh,
were so few people in life that got me the way that you did. And like we used to sit on the couch watching TV in sweatpants wearing high heels. I don't know why. I don't know why we
we
did that,
did do
but we did.
that. We did at your apartment. I think a lot about all of the experiences we had. Like, I mean, we went to dinners with like Lin-Manuel Miranda before, like long before Hamilton. I remember being at a New York City Dance Alliance dinner, not even like a
Mhm.
gala, just a dinner, and sitting with
Mhm.
Lin-Manuel Miranda. We
That's
took a picture together that I
wild.
printed as a 4x6. Mm-hmm.
Wild. I love
Um,
that.
and then I forget if this was when you were there or not. You remember we used to go to this bar on 23rd and 8th that we worked with a woman whose boyfriend, I think, like bartended there. And this was
Okay.
during the Gossip Girl era. And Chase Crawford
Oh,
used to go there all the time. One
yep.
night we went there after we had some event that we were all at. Chase Crawford was there. I sat at the bar with him and flirted for like an hour. Why didn't I try to go home with him? Like,
Well, that was like not our mindset, but like yes, we did like cool things. We got to meet cool people,
yeah.
go cool places. Like
It was
yes, that still blows my mind.
quintessential, like, New York City, we made do on the little money that we had. Our big
We did.
splurge after payday was we would go to cafeteria and split the mac and
Oh,
cheese sampler and hang out. We loved it because all the waiters were gay and we felt so safe.
yes, we did. We did. It was amazing, and they brought us the fried Oreos for free.
Because they were like, "You seem poor, but also
We were
hungry." And we are like, do you not see our outfits? We're clearly here for Fashion Week."
so embarrassing.
Yeah. Didn't you go to Fashion Week? Didn't you, like, go to a show once?
Yeah, I did some freelancing
Yeah.
for Beauty News NYC or something like
Yeah.
that, and I got to go behind the scenes for a couple of the shows. I living the high life there.
Yeah.
Like amazing,
I remember you,
amazing.
like, getting dressed for it, being like, "What should I wear?" And I was like, "Obviously your Nine West heels." Like, not even a question.
I'm so embarrassed to look back, but it's
Well, I
so
love
what?
looking
Like
back.
we get to like do these things. That's so
I
cool.
know. We had it pretty good. And we had each
Yeah,
other.
I know. I wish we lived next door to each other,
I
honestly.
wish you lived in my house. I don't wanna go next door. Oh my
So good, so good. All right, last question. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice as a new graduate, what would it be?
ooh. Um, gosh, there's so many, and some of them are I mean, my first thought was like, understand what you're getting into. Understand what it means when you get a job offer. Understand what a deductible is with your health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Understand how much you need to make to afford like basic budgeting, um,
Yes.
basic negotiation. When you're a new graduate, you don't have much leverage. I mean, unless you're like a Harvard grad interviewing at a top law firm. I'm rewatching Suits right now, so top of mind. But
Mhm.
new graduates don't have a lot of leverage. We are just
Right,
happy to be in the room, and that's okay in that phase of life, but also, you do have skills to offer. You have a lot to offer. People
right.
love young people in the workplace, they really do, and
Yeah.
so, I think it's have I'll boil it down, and it's not gonna be about health insurance. Have confidence in what you have to offer. Know that there is a lot that is not a product of what you learned in college, but that is a product of who you are as a person. Use all of that to your advantage, but never lose humility so that you never stop
Mhm.
learning and growing and learn to be okay with sometimes being wrong because you will sometimes be wrong. You will get constructive criticism. You might even get mean criticism.
Mhm.
And so have enough confidence to take it, enough humility to say to take what applies and leave what doesn't, and then keep going through life and learning and growing, and you're going to keep getting better. And then teach me everything that you learned because I went through life saying I only want constructive compliments, and that is fun because I love words of affirmation. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, it's hard to take feedback,
Yeah.
especially if you're working a job that you love, that you just want to be good at. We're not all going to be the best at things right out of the gate. So learn, grow, and try to make a best friend along the way.
Oh, yay. Yes, I say confidence and curiosity will take you further than your credentials. And I think that's so true
Yeah.
in our case. Your willingness to learn and get in there, it's way better when you're a new graduate with not a lot on your resume. And so put that stuff forward and you will land your dream job. So
Yeah, you got this.
so tell me if people want to read all about you or hear your podcast, where do they go?
Yeah, the show is called The Alley on the Run Show. It is available wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. It's on all of those. I'm on Instagram at Alley on the Run 1. That's where I post the most. And I have a newsletter, alleyontheRun.substack.com. Comes out once a week, and it's kind of a throwback to the old blog days. I don't update the blog
Mhm.
anymore, but the newsletter is kind of reminiscent of minus the little selfies in the Dance Spirit bathroom showing my outfits. Otherwise, I think it sort of pays homage to the old days of the Alley on the Run blog.
And it is more than just for runners. It is about life. I mean, the running is in there and it is inspirational, but if you are not a runner, it is still worth the listen. So, thank you for spending time with me. I'm so glad that I was able to have you on and hear all of this because it is pure gold.
Oh my gosh. I'm not hanging up. I'm staying here forever. Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing. I will be your number one fan forever.